I, a 28-year-old woman, and my 28-year-old ex-husband Evan were married in 2018 following 6 years of dating. Of course, it was when I got to know his entire family, and his grandmother Erica and I have gotten along pretty well. I found it simple to connect with Erica because we share similar interests in cooking, stitching, and taking care of plants, just like my late grandmother did. Evan is the only child of Erica. He has 4 siblings and hails from an only-boy family. She was overjoyed when we got married since, after the tragic death of Evan's mother in 2017, they had another daughter in the family at last. With Erica's engagement ring, the same one that Evan's father proposed to his mother and Evan's grandfather proposed to Erica, Evan proposed to me. The ring is lovely, it's little and features a sapphire, which is Erica's birthstone. After his mother died away, Erica retrieved the ring and instructed Evan to deliver it to me at the appropriate time. In 2018, he did. However, since Evan had cheated on me for the previous 3 years, we got divorced in 2020. We used to live together, therefore Erica's heart was crushed by the divorce. She came up to me as I was packing and informed me that the ring was intended for a daughter, not the spouse of her kid or grandson. She wanted me to keep the ring. She stated that since she loved Evan's mother as much as she loved me, I wouldn't have it even if Evan's mother were still living. Nevertheless, this is how things transpired, and the ring belonged to me without Evan. At first, I attempted to say no, thinking I had no right to keep it as a family relic, but Erica persisted, and I am grateful that she did. I still keep in touch with Evan even after our divorce, and I go see her fairly frequently. The issue is that Evan wanted to propose to his girlfriend, the person he cheated on me with, about 2 months ago, so he messaged me asking for the ring. I refused to do it, saying that Erica gave it to me as a gift. He became enraged, threatened me, and began calling me names for taking his grandmother's ring. He didn't care that I told him she gave it to me, all he wanted was his stuff back. And because I neglected to change the locks after a few weeks, he was able to enter my home. Yes, it was foolish of me, but even though he knew I didn't wear the ring at the gym and assumed he couldn't handle it, I took the ring while I was there. I then reported him to the police, who discovered the ring on his new fiancé's finger. It was all I wanted back, so I didn't file any charges. He's been contacting me non-stop, saying that I should not have the ring because I'm his ex and that his fiancée would leave him if she doesn't get it back because I embarrassed her after the police had to take it off her finger. I told him that since he wouldn't be receiving my ring back, I hoped he liked being single. Naturally, Erica is unaware of this since I would prefer not to get her involved in a dispute. Evan, though, maintains that there wouldn't be any conflict at all if I simply return the ring. So, am I the fool here? Not the fool. Any advice your ex may have is superseded by the fact that it was Erica's ring and you should keep it. You did a great job of reporting them to the police. She was embarrassed that she had been given stolen things. I would remind my ex that he can be unmarried and in jail at the same time. Examine getting a restraining order. I make fun of her after the police had to remove it from her finger, perhaps she ought to have removed it beforehand. Did she really believe she would be able to maintain it? Girl, I'm his ex, I shouldn't have it. Audacious remarks from a side character who became true love. I'll tell you what, receiving someone else's engagement ring would make me feel ashamed. But in this case, it's even more awkward. Does she also desire your wedding gown? Christ Jesus. Yes, but why would the betrothed woman ever desire a ring that belonged to her partner's former boyfriend? I know it's more of a power play, a he's mine now kind of thing, but still, disgusting. If someone proposed to me using the same ring they gave their ex, I would be appalled. And a pilfered one, too. Not the fool. Technically speaking, an engagement ring is a conditional gift, but the requirement was met when the couple got married. It remains yours even after a divorce. It's lovely to return an heirloom ring to the relative who originally owned it, but it wasn't required. Evan was immediately eliminated from the picture when that relative immediately returned the favor. Thus, you receive this as a gift from his grandma. Inform him not to get in touch with you unless it's via your attorneys. Really, let's swap out the locks. Indeed, OP, your ex is a complete mess. Change your locks and obtain a restraining order against the two of them. He had already broken into your home while you were away. Who knows what he'll do the following time around if you're around? Since it was someone else's present and you didn't steal it, you are not the idiot. It was his infidelity that led to this catastrophe. This is going to be strange, so bear with me. I remember crying when I was younger over my mother's apparent death until she jumped and terrified me. She comforted me as I broke down in tears. She has done this ever since, at least once or twice a month. I was maybe 9 or 10 years old when I finally figured it out. Even after I played along, without sobbing, I noticed her giving me what I now recognize as tired looks. In any case, she repeated it yesterday. I was worn out from my extracurricular activity when I got home. I reached out to her and got no response. When I checked on her later, she was still in the same pose as when she had pretended to die. Upon seeing her breathing and glancing at me, I realized nothing dreadful had occurred, despite my first misgivings. I simply shut the bedroom door and went to get some supper from the kitchen. She asked me if I was okay when she came down a few minutes later. Yes, I replied. I simply responded in a light-hearted manner, I think I'm too old for this game now, to her question without bothering to check on her. However, she didn't appear to get the joke, since the next thing I know, she's yelling at me and calling me self-centered and ungrateful. She finally admitted that she was unhappy with me and that she loved to shut herself in her room, where she has been ever since, aside from the occasional irate or disappointed glance she gives me when she comes out to grab food. She had crimson eyes. My father never made an effort to be involved in my life. My mother is a single mother. Since she has made every effort to lead a comfortable life, I genuinely feel bad for having made her weep. Perhaps I ought to have played along or approached the matter with more gentleness. I'm not sure. On the other hand, I was genuinely tired of the game and drained. Am I the foolish one? Not that I'm an idiot, but your mother's involvement in this game raises serious concerns. Perhaps, if you both laughed it off and she had only recently started doing it, maybe. But when you were a small child and afraid? Whoa. OP. I advise you to talk to other reliable people in your life, such as a guidance counselor, teacher, coach, or leader of the community. Given how the mother seems to be acting out, I do worry if she is suffering from a major mental disease. Yes, it is a really cruel and deceptive prank to do on a child on a regular basis. Don't take her response too seriously, please. When you grow into your own person, there will be a lot more moments like this. She requires counseling. Her scream suggests that she needs confirmation that you love and care for her. Simply put, it's a very, very, very incorrect method. She's played this sick game for far too long, and enough is enough. She has too many times cried wolf. Remind her that if she truly cared about your mental well-being, she wouldn't be playing dead to test your love on a regular basis. Even though you love her and are grateful for everything she has accomplished, you can no longer play along with her by seeming alarmed each time she makes up a death. Yes, that's right, clearly not the fool. The next time, throw a pail of water at her and, when she becomes irate, explain that you were simply verifying. I've been dating my spouse Mike for 4 years and we've been married for 2. Mike is a joker, and he does joke around a lot. He's prepared to play dumb pranks and jokes on everyone, not to mention tell jokes. Our lives are stable and we don't fight much. But I should bring up Mike short. Because of all the jokes and remarks that his friends and family have made about him, he can get really insecure about it. To celebrate his birthday, we were paying them a visit. I had planned to wear my newly purchased heels, but he requested that I wear something more subdued because we would be meeting distant relatives at the reception. He did not want us to stand next to each other looking weird. However, since I hadn't worn heels in a while and I wouldn't have to walk far, our house plus a vehicle ride plus my in-laws' place, I was really itching to wear them. I was waiting for Mike to pull the car over, holding our 6-month-old boy in my arms. He came to a stop where I am and motioned for me to enter. I ordered him to stop since I wouldn't change my heels after he drove ahead and backwards in reverse and said, "All right, aren't you going to change those high heels? Must be exhausted from standing already." Subsequently, he motioned for me to enter, but before I could, he moved forward, creating a space, and commenced laughing. I tried to open the door, but he abruptly pushed on the throttle and drove forward, laughing. He then drove again in reverse and said, "It's not funny, I know. Get in the car." After doing it a few more times, he drove in reverse back to where I was standing and said, "All right, I've had enough fun for tonight. Get in." I attempted to get in, but he laughed again as he went farther in reverse. "Screw it, this is enough," I exclaimed, and I literally went back into the home with my son before closing the door. After entering, Mike said, "We had to go, it's getting late." I informed him that by constantly making me feel anxious and by playing with my son and me in that way, he was being incredibly cruel. He apologized to me a few times, but after he'd done that, I told him I wouldn't be attending his birthday celebration. He left after accusing me of being selfish for my position after we got into a fight. In the end, I remained home with our son and he went alone. He returned, appearing distressed and silent, and remained in our son's room. I skipped his 30th birthday over a little, innocuous practical joke, which upset his mother. She called and said Mike was upset on his joyful day because I made him sad and that everyone was inquiring about me. I told him what he had done and how fed up I was with this. "I should relax," she said, "since it's his birthday and he was just playing about." We argued back and forth, during which she ordered me to stop being so petty and grow up. She also said that I ought to have celebrated this achievement with him. That is a power play, not a joke. A potentially harmful power play for his wife and child. If his wife had been grasping a door handle as he was moving forward and backwards, how would he have responded? OP would have been pulled if she had wrapped her hand around the handle in a hold to draw it open. She could have easily dropped the 6-month-old infant that she was holding in her arms. She might have fallen because she was wearing heels and lost her balance. Furthermore, his mother is defending his behavior. Let's be clear, this man is hiding a mean-spirited power play under jokes and pranks. OP, is this the style of all his pranks or was this just one instance? If you and he had made a single mistake, it may have led to a catastrophic event. Had you stumbled, fallen on your son, etc.? Nothing humorous can be said about this. Do not allow his mother to brush this off. No, you are not the fool. Not the fool. Schedule a marriage counseling session. If he declines to accompany you, go by yourself. He endangered a baby with his foolish games. You mentioned that he reached 30. What type of man, even without a baby in tow, finds it amusing to play games in the car? And this poor behavior is being encouraged by his mother and family. You've recently discovered that your spouse is among the people your child shouldn't be around. Here, everyone is the idiot. He played a silly joke that might have caused you or your son to be run over if you had slipped and fallen during this little game. To sum up, you mentioned that your spouse feels self-conscious about his height because his friends and relatives tease him about it. You are invited to his birthday party, please don't wear heels. You can see why he asked from what you've said. His fears, but you didn't want to listen to him because you wanted to wear the heels. I hope he enjoyed his birthday without his wife and son, and that you relished the 5 minutes you spent wearing your heels. No, he asked me for this one thing on his birthday, no less, just this is what I want, so it's gonna happen. With this lady, 21, I've been talking to for a while. I went on a second date. Our first date didn't go well, we met at a pub and had drinks. I should have just quit talking to her at that point, looking back. I asked her out again because I'm desperate and my self-esteem is basically non-existent. Her date was a complete bust. She was disrespectful to the waitstaff and me, which was nothing new, and she was 20 minutes late. I voiced complaints about everything, including my attire, fragrance, and the meal and location. I determined that, until I really can't find someone else, I probably shouldn't ask her out again when the bill arrived. I told the waitress that I was short on cash and couldn't afford both of our checks when she asked about the checks. I firmly told her, 2 checks. The girl asked, you really know how to make a girl feel special, do you not bring money on dates? After we got into a heated argument, she remarked, well, I didn't bring my wallet. What are you going to do? The waitress then promised to return later. I informed her during our argument that I had the money to pay for our supper, but she had been so unpleasant and rude that I don't think I should meet her again. After they argued for 10 more minutes, she became even angrier. I made the decision to stop. I promised her I would go ask the waitress by the cash register if there was anything I could do. After I stood up and went to the register to explain the issue, she let me to pay and go. She was essentially stranded there until her friend could get off work and bring her wallet to her, which would be ours, when I arrived at my dorm, according to a plethora of unpleasant texts I received. I thus temporarily barred her. My pals believe I'm a moron. Am I the foolish one? No, no, no. You owe her nothing at all. Well, I didn't bring my wallet. What are you going to do? What are you doing? It sounds like she left her wallet at home on purpose so she could try to get you to eat for free if you didn't pay for her. Here, everyone is a fool. You shouldn't have asked her out on another date if you didn't like her. It's quite telling that you only might see her again in a difficult situation because it seems like you truly despise her. Forgetting your wallet while out on a date is a poor idea, but so is being impolitely and leaving. Her perspective on how things transpired would be fascinating to hear. You are worthy of one another. I vehemently believe that if someone is being that way, you should have to put up with them or yell at them since her free meal plan went south because she couldn't stop being an idiot. Did she truly lack a means of paying on her phone? I'm sure that something could have been arranged if she had internet banking. I suppose some people don't, but I find the hours and hours strange. Given that they are typing this after learning all of the details, the OP most likely sounds like he despises her greatly. Additionally, leaving a date at any time for any reason is never improper. The purpose of a date is to introduce yourself to the other person and have fun. You are free to leave if the time is unpleasant, uncomfortable, or simply not your thing. I would have left sooner if my date had offended any waiters. If the person in question has committed any wrongdoing, it is putting his fears ahead of his principles. I will simply put this out of my mind. Although he is my dad's stepfather, he is the only father I have ever known. He entered my life when I was 5 years old, and a year later, he and my mother were married. From what I can recall and understand, my dad's 2 kids from a previous marriage never really gave my mom a chance, but they weren't particularly antagonistic until their mother declared she detested me. My mother was brought up to think that when you marry someone, you should treat their children as if they were your own, but you should also honor the biological parents and make sure the children always come before your feelings as an adult. Their mom wasn't fond of my mom's attempts to establish a common link with her. This woman wanted my mother and me to perish. She attempted to abduct my dad's children when she showed up at their wedding. It was absurd. I'll never know why my mother stayed, but she did, and she loved us all the way. But she was treated like she wasn't even human by my dad's kids. They would either make up strange tales about her or refuse to acknowledge her. They used to say they'd sell me to whomever terrible guys were hunting for tiny kids since they didn't like me either. My father battled in court to put an end to that nonsense. He argued with his children about being rude and harsh, and he even made an effort to talk to his former partner. Nothing was successful. My parents' mother died a few years into their marriage, and they held my mother responsible. My dad enrolled them in therapy to help them deal with the loss, but the anger consumed them. We discovered that their mother had ignited the whole thing, blaming me because, as their mom's sister said, she had informed them that my mother had cursed her to die. A few years ago, they communicated with her over Facebook for the last time. My dad understood my mom's giving up at that point, but I believe he thought I might one day have a sibling relationship with them. He inquired about setting up the meeting because I'm expecting my first child. I told him they were evil people and that I would never want them back in my life. I would consider my dad's parents to be my grandparents, but I don't think they ever really saw me as family. I believe I'm the fool for upsetting him by saying such a thing about his children. Am I the foolish one? Not the fool. Why is your mother putting up with this at all, Jesus Christ? These folks actually give me the creeps. They have no right to be anywhere close to my family or me. Was your mother the mistress of your stepfather or something? Even if she was, it wouldn't justify their behavior, of course, but at least their rage would make more sense. Not the fool. Clearly, their biological mother indoctrinated them, and years ago, they ought to have been in treatment or had exclusive custody. It is not necessary for you to be surrounded by harmful people. You have the freedom to decide who stays in your life and, to be very honest, there are some people you shouldn't be around.